and Ideate BIMLink and IdeateApps software. This broadcast is actually being presented live from the United States today in conjunction with A2K. So I do thank A2K for giving me the opportunity to present to you fine folks out in Australia today. All right, I'm going to advance the slide here in just a moment. Just checking everything. Looks good. Okay. All right, so just real quickly here, all in a Ideate Quick Start course. A2K does offer a 3-hour instructor-led course. So this is how you can learn how to integrate Ideate software into your daily workflows. And of course, it is created by experienced AEC industry Revit users. And of course, it's built on their knowledge of the Revit platform and of course of the industry. So for more information, feel free to reach out to A2K Technologies. Their information is right here in the bottom portion of the slide. Okay, so for today's agenda, we're going to be reviewing specifically focus on IdeateApps and Ideate BIMLink. IdeateApps are productivity tools for really everyday Revit users. There are plenty of great productivity apps within the portfolio that do help you with your day-to-day challenges. And also Ideate BIMLink, which really gives you a look at more advanced Revit data management, that is, via Excel. So we're going to be talking a little bit about how you can use BIMLink to deal with some of your data management challenges. Okay, so a little bit about me. My name is Sash Kaziminidzad. I am the Customer Success Manager with Ideate Software. I am located in our Portland, Oregon architecture for many years and came over to Ideate about 5 years ago with a focus on instruction of Revit courses and also tech support, and also to work with the Ideate software team as well. I joined Ideate Software full-time in February. So my background is in Revit and also AutoCAD as well. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into this presentation since we only have an hour here. So I'm going to first talk about IdeateApps. So the whole idea behind IdeateApps is it helps you to decrease the amount of time that you spend doing your kind of day-to-day tasks. And so these are things like renumbering and selecting elements, also a lot of the sheet and view management tasks that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And then I'm going to go through kind of each one of these applications in a little bit of detail here. Also, just want to remind you before I go on, feel free to type into the question panel. What I am going to do is at the end of the presentation, I will go through the question panel to review questions. That way I can kind of keep the flow of the presentation going along. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about some of the problem Revit workflows. So these are some of the questions that have come up to us in the past, like how do I quickly find something that may be invisible? Maybe I see it in one view, but I cannot find it in another view. I know that element exists in a Revit model, but I don't understand why I do not see it. Also, if you've ever run into sort of renumbering challenges, whether you want to renumber rooms or you want to renumber your doors as they correspond to rooms, or perhaps you have parking space requirements or lighting requirements, how can we do this really quickly and efficiently? And how can we maybe meet our clients' needs in terms of renumbering rules? Why or when was it deleted? That's always a great question that comes up. Another great one is, why are you seeing none of the elements are created, or none of the created elements, that is, are visible in the current view? What is the cause and solution? Or have you been irritated with doing a SpellCheck view by view and sheet by sheet? These are just some of the questions that come up, and these are the solutions that IdeateApps have come up with as well. All right, so I'll go over the first one real quickly. One of the easy to use products that is part of IdeateApps is Ideate QuickSelect. And it's really for any user. So if you've ever selected elements in Revit and then had to go through the filter tab to try to filter that selection, you've probably discovered that it's it's not that robust. The great thing about QuickSelect is the program allows you to select elements by their category, and then you can filter those elements down to the individual instance and select what you want to do. So the nice thing about it is you are kind of cherry picking what you want to select. The Revit filter tool doesn't give you that opportunity. So really anybody can be using this program at any point in time. In addition to that, you can also find hidden CAD imports, which is really nice. The Revit interface itself doesn't list CAD imports. Those are a lot trickier to find without a program like QuickSelect. Another great program that we have as part of the IdeateApps portfolio is a program called SmartDelete. And the great thing about that is if you go to delete an element, you probably sometimes are wondering, hey, if I delete this element, what else would be deleted as a result of deleting that element? I'm sure we've all deleted a level before in Revit, and you come to find out you're deleting the whole project, and Revit doesn't tell you what will be deleted if you delete a level. Now, Revit 2019 does, but prior versions do not do that. But the nice thing about SmartDelete is it will report any sort of element and all of its hosts if you use SmartDelete. So any sort of dependencies, if I have a dimension snapped to a wall, I have wall hung elements on there, SmartDelete will tell you everything that will be deleted if you delete that wall, or whatever it may be for that matter. One of my favorite programs is Ideate XRay. This is a wonderful program because XRay actually will tell you the reasons why things are invisible in a view. So this goes above and beyond the reveal hidden elements. As many of you may know, the reveal hidden elements feature in Revit will only display elements that are turned off individually or categorically. But if you have things turned off because of a filter, or because of a view range issue, or because of work sets, you won't see those elements. X-Ray can tell you the reason why elements are not visible in a view. It's a wonderful program, and you don't have to bother your BIM manager anymore if you cannot find something. The other great thing about X-Ray is that the software is designed to also be an educational tool. So feel free at any point in time you use X-Ray to click on the help button. The help button will give you advice on what to do to resolve the challenges with the element being invisible. If X-Ray says it could be on the incorrect phase, then the help button will give you some more information and clue you in on how to deal with that issue. Another great program is Ideate Renumber. So if you're being tasked with a renumbering solution, for example, you need to renumber all your rooms or light fixtures or doors, then Renumber is definitely the tool for you. We've designed it to do a few different ways of actually renumbering. So you can select elements individually, you can draw lines through the elements and kind of renumber it on a path, or depending on how you set up the rule, you can auto number it by view as well. So this is a wonderful tool that can help you with those issues. Again, as I mentioned before, it supports renumbering rooms by path. Also, another great thing for those of you that may be on the mechanical side of things, if you are linking in an architect's project, and let's say the architect put rooms in there, and you want, say, your space data to match your room data from the architect's link, we have built in rules to help you with that. So that way you can grab the room data from the link and have the space data in your project renumber based on the room data from the architect. So we've built a lot of these tools to help out. And we build these as rules that you can share with other folks within your office and even put on your server if you want to, so you can access those rules from anywhere and for any project. And the nice thing is we've given you the ability to customize those rules as well, so that you're not just limited to the rules that we've kind of shipped with the program. All right, SpellCheck. It's another great product. As I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, if you've done SpellCheck kind of view by view and sheet by sheet, that takes a long time to do, especially if you're using it the Revit way. Ideate SpellCheck will spell check your sheets and your views and your schedules all in one interface. So you don't even have to be on a particular sheet or view to handle this, just simply launch the SpellCheck program and get started, and it will work on each one of the sheets and each one of the views. And the nice thing is you can add customized words or abbreviations to the dictionary as well. And we support multiple languages within the SpellCheck program above and beyond English. We also have a SheetManager tool that's really great. For those of you that are still dragging views onto sheets, kind of the traditional way, you don't have to do that anymore. Our whole SheetManager tools will actually help you drag views onto sheets, and then from there you can use our align or clone tools to further develop your sheet layouts and also sheet creation from there if you want. So it's great to use the project browser to open sheets and views, but really beyond that, you don't get much arrangement opportunity with the native tools within Revit. Our SheetManager tool will help you out with all of that. This is a challenge that people run into all the time. I have multiple sheets with the same type of views on each sheet, and when I flip through the drawing set, I want the floor plans to be in the exact same location. I want the elevations to be in the same exact location, and using the grid guide that comes with Revit is quite tedious. Well, we have a solution for that with Ideate Align. So anybody who's laying out a sheet can easily use this tool, and you basically have an alignment view as kind of the source, and then you can pick the other sheets and views that you want to align and match them to. It's a phenomenal tool, really easy to use, and if you haven't had a chance to use it yet, I definitely encourage you to do so. Clone. If you ever try to right mouse click on a sheet to duplicate the sheet, you can't do that. And the reason why is Revit has no provisions for replacing the view when you duplicate a sheet. We've handled all of that with Ideate Clone. So the beautiful thing about Clone is you can duplicate your sheets, and then in place of the view from the sheet that you're duplicating, you can swap out the view with another view. So for example, if you have a floor plan sheet that you want to clone and you want to put in place a ceiling plan that's of the same scale and even maybe of the same floor, Ideate Clone allows you to do that with ease and with speed. So again, I'll be able to show you some of this here in just a bit. View Creator. Wonderful tool if you have to create a lot of views. So if you're working on a multi-story project and let's say you have a first floor plan created, now you got to make the same view for levels 2 through 100. You can easily use View Creator for that. Maybe now you've done that for phase 1 and you need to copy those views over to phase 2. Absolutely can handle that. If you have scope boxes as well, we can copy all of that information over really quickly using View Creator. Then I'll show you a couple of quick examples today of how to use View Creator. Okay, the next product that I'm going to talk about, and then we'll get into demo mode here in just a few minutes, is Ideate BIMLink. So with BIMLink, Revit users can pull information from a Microsoft Excel file. So basically, you take the data from your Revit models out to Excel. You can edit that data in Excel and bring it back in to update your model. Or you could take that data and do whatever else you want with it. You could tie it into an FM system if you want to, or you can reformulate it if you want to in Excel as pivot tables. Maybe you want to use Ideate Sticky to bring that information back in. The world is really your oyster when it comes to Ideate BIMLink. It's really just a vehicle for data input and output. So just some of the things that BIMLink can do. It's a very large program in terms of its capabilities. What I'm showing you right here is just a small sampling of what BIMLink can do. You can edit data, or you can edit parameters that is within your schedules. You can create new areas and schedule keys and rooms and sheets and spaces if you want to. Also rename your families if you want to. And then we also give you access to data that you normally will never see in a Revit model. So a good example, maybe for those of you that are on the electrical side of things, the device elevations. Those are tricky to deal with. And sometimes when you go to a schedule, you don't see those device elevations. We have access to that data. And if you want to edit the device elevations in your Excel file, you can do that and then pull it back in, and those device elevations will move to the proper elevation. Those are just some of the small things that BIMLink can handle. And as I mentioned before, it can handle a lot of data. And the reason why we're using Excel for all of this is because Excel is just has basically been around for such a long time. It has such great editing tools. We're used to filling across and filling down, right? You get those autofill tips. And if you're a real savvy Excel user, which by the way, I'm not, but if you're a really savvy Excel user, then you could start using some of the fun functions in there like concatenate or VLOOKUP. And these kinds of tools or these kinds of functions can be used to enhance some of your data management and also some of your data editing tasks. And if maybe you want to dump the data out to Excel and give it to somebody else to edit, absolutely. Let them edit it. And then when they give it back to you, you just simply import that information to update your Revit model. Here's a good example of I'm taking some of my families that may not be properly named, or even your detail items. We're talking about views here, and I'm putting some numbering system in front of it to better organize it. Instead of doing this manually one by one within your Revit model, take the data out to Excel and simply edit in Excel and pull it back in. As I mentioned before, you can create model content. Believe it or not, you can actually create new rooms. If you're tasked with doing room programming where you have to put the room name and number and the target footage, whether you're doing square feet like we do in the US or square meters, doesn't matter. You can do all of that in Excel and then pull that data in to create new unplaced rooms. And then you simply place those rooms and the data is already filled in. That's pretty fantastic. And by the way, what we're showing you on the screen right here is a screenshot from our website. And so if you do have some questions on how to do certain things, check out our website. You can see right here, kind of in the middle of the slide, how do we create new sheets and new rooms? How about masses? I've written a blog post on generating new masses for programming and inputting data inside of those masses. These are just some of the things that you can do with BIMLink, and our help file can help you out with some of that stuff. Also, other great things like generic models. We've even made this little point family that you can embed inside of, like, say, your footings or within your model itself, and we can actually get access to the coordinate data of these masses, because BIMLink can report that. So if you're using a total station or trying to locate things out in the field, these generic models in conjunction with BIMLink can help you get the coordinate data of what you're trying to locate. In addition, if some of you are doing things like revision per sheet, where you actually have to get the revision data that's on each and every sheet, BIMLink can help you gather that data, and then we actually have made a macro template that can take that data and formulate it into a schedule in Excel, and then we can use like Ideate Sticky to bring that information back in as a sticky, so you can stick that that schedule on, let's say, your cover sheet. So right now, Revit doesn't have the ability to do a revision schedule on a per sheet basis. It can only handle a per project basis. We've handled that workflow with BIMLink. Also, if you have to check your door ratings versus your wall ratings, we have built in quality control links that can help you with that process. So it'll list all your doors and their relative walls, and whether that wall is rated or not, we have access to all of that data. Okay. Also, some of the room information, like where is this, where are the elevations and in what room? How can I use this to maybe rename my interior elevations? I'm going to actually show you that demo here in a few moments. Also, we can gather room and space data from linked files. So if a schedule in Revit isn't reporting the information, take a look at BIMLink. We can gather that data and report it to you through Excel if you want to. Also, have dimensions been overridden? That's pretty amazing. We have the ability to also use BIMLink to report all the dimensions that have overrides. So if people are doing funny things like putting decimal points in front of dimensions to make the text different, BIMLink can report that information. And as I mentioned before, host data, elevation data, and of course, coordinate data as well. Okay, what I'm going to go ahead and do here is I'm going to switch over to my Revit software. And again, I will take some questions here at the end. But let's see, you should all see my Revit model right about now. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to start off with Ideate BIMLink as kind of the icebreaker here. So all of our products, basically starting with Revit 2017 and later, will be found under the Ideate Software tab. And earlier versions of Revit, they would be found under the Add-ins tab. So it depends on what flavor of Revit you're using. For today's webcast, the focus is on Ideate BIMLink and IdeateApps. And as I mentioned before, IdeateApps is a collection of 9 day-to-day use utilities, where Ideate BIMLink is more of a large data editing software. So I'm going to start with Ideate BIMLink. And I'll give you just a quick rundown on how BIMLink works. When you launch BIMLink, you have the ability to create a brand new link. And I think of these links when I talk to people as kind of building a schedule that doesn't get saved in the Revit model as a Revit schedule, but more of a schedule that can be taken out to Excel. And you can create a brand new schedule, and you can pick really from any of the categories that we have listed here. So again, we're listing literally every category in Revit, including multi-category. And the beautiful thing about the multi-category that we have in BIMLink is it actually includes a lot more categories of elements than Revit's multi-category. So we like to say that our multi-category is a true multi-category, where Revit's is not really a true multi-category. And when you pick what you want to edit, so say for example, you want to edit some door information, when I go to doors, I can give it a name and I can tell people what the purpose of the link is. And you can see over here, I have some links already pre-configured if you want to make a custom link. And when you do that, you can use one of our sample links that we already ship with BIMLink. And BIMLink ships with a lot of links. And when we update BIMLink, including to the next version, we always include new sample links. So if any of you are using BIMLink right now, when you do your updates, be on the lookout for new and updated links. For example, for doors, we have a check fire rating, and it tells you right here what you can do. Or if you want to just take one of your schedules and take the data out and edit it, you can certainly do that as well. And then one of the things that we give you the option to do is export either the instant data or the type data to Excel. We don't intermingle them together because people will start editing the incorrect data. You may think you're editing an instance parameter when you're editing a type parameter, or maybe you're editing the same type parameter for the same exact element in 2 different spots, and you'd end up kind of in this circular motion. So we give you basically we set it up so you do the export separately. Let me just show you real quick. If I use one of our sample links, QC door check fire rating, then when I load it, our pre-configured link will show you the level, the mark number of the door, the family name and the fire rating and so forth. And then I could show a full preview over here. And you could see when I scroll down the list, I found some doors over here whose walls are listed as 1 hour rated. But when I look over here, the fire rating for the doors are not inputted. So then I need to go back and say, hey folks, we have walls that are rated, but we need to check the fire rating of the doors to make sure that it reports what the fire rating is. So here's a good example. I don't even have to take this out to Excel if I do not want to. Okay, right here I could stop and say, okay, this is what I need because Revit doesn't report this information natively. We can. In addition, if you look at this list here, we can give you access to parameters that Revit would never show you in a schedule, even things like what model group these elements may be part of. So if you've grouped things, we can find out what door belongs to what group. Revit just doesn't report that stuff. So we're giving you access to a lot more data, and we're putting it together and bundling it up in this really nice, easy to use interface. I'm going to show you just a couple examples here that I like to use for my demonstrations. And one of them is one that we've created called QC Views Interior Audit. And what's nice about this is I can actually edit my names for the interior elevations. And I'm going to look at the properties here right now. Now, when I go to the properties here, what I have listed out are things like the phase name, the family and type, the detail number, you know, what the room name is that the elevation falls in. And then this is a really interesting one. We actually have access to the view orientation parameter from within Revit. So we actually know what orientation the elevation bug is actually pointing in. You can see right over here, we have all sorts of elevations, including strange ones like 94.27. But I can use this to say, you know, everything between 0 and 89 degrees is the north elevation, and everything between 90 and 269 is the east elevation, and so forth. And what I can do here is I can export this data, and I'll just go ahead and save it right here. I can export this data to Excel. So give it a moment here while it exports. And I can open the file. And then what I have on my Excel file is all the data that's editable and not editable. And why am I showing you non-editable data? Because I can use this to build a string. So what maybe today my target is to edit the title on sheet for the view names. Okay, that's my goal. And so one of the things that you could do, and folks, by the way, I'm not the greatest Excel user in the world, but I could come in over here and I could say, you know what, everything between 0 and 90 in this case is going to be north. So I'll just show you a quick example of what I'm talking about here. I would come in here and do a north, okay? And you could also do like an if-then statement to have it auto-populate this, but to me, this is just as easy to say, okay, this is north. And then these are gonna be east, all right? And so forth, all right? And I'm not gonna sit here and fill every one of these out. But then what I can do over here for my work is I can say, okay, the title on sheet is gonna equal, and I can say it's going to equal the office, and I could say a dash, and the room number, and I can put a dash in here and do the north. All right, and you see right here it says office 1032 north, and I can basically fill this down. And you can see over here, there it is. I can then copy this data and I can then paste this data right here, okay? And what will happen is, whoops, I kind of went a little too far here, but what I would basically do here, of course, I copied the incorrect data. Let me try this again here. I'm gonna copy this data and then I'm gonna just go ahead and paste the values, all right? Oops, and I only copied one, but you get the idea, right? Let me try this again. Sorry, folks, I'm having trouble with my selections here. I want to take this and do this. There we go. Copy it to clipboard and then paste the special. Okay, and then I can import this data and rename my interior elevations. Now I'm just going to show you an example of what I've completed. So I'm not going to save this. And I already have a sample to import. Let me just show it to you real quickly here. I'll show you right now. So if I come over here to my sample folder under my data sets, I already have a one that I've created. So let me just show it to you. There it is. I'm taking this with the phase information like this, okay? And you could see the phase information is lowercase. And in my formula, I also made it all uppercase so that when I concatenate this information and paste it in here, it's all uppercase. But I did the work over here and then I can paste it right under the title on sheet. I'm gonna close this down and I'm gonna come back to Revit. And let me close this real quick because I wanna go to an interior elevation page. And let's just look at a couple of these elevation names over here. I have 3 of them shown here. And I'm gonna launch BIM Link. I'll select this and go to import. And I already have one here called import. So I already have it all made. I'm gonna bring this data in. And right here in BIM Link, it'll report everything that has been changed or updated. And you can see all of these interior elevations can be renamed really quickly. And down here, it reports no errors and warnings. Okay, and the current value in Revit is blank because none of these were filled out, and these are going to be the new names. And when I go to import and close, take a look at this. All my interior elevations have been named basically based on the way I did the concatenate within my Excel file. That's just one of the really easy examples of how you can use BIMLink and Excel to rename all your interior elevations. And you see it says east right here because we picked up the orientation of the elevation using BIMLink and said, okay, we know this points in the east direction. To do this manually would take quite some time. Another great example that I'll show you, and then I'll move on to IdeateApps, is we've also created some pre-configured links and macro templates. We have a construction quantity takeoff Excel file that we ship with BIMLink. And when I open this file, we actually use the out-of-the-box Revit data set to basically make pivot tables that will summarize as a quantity takeoff. And then we have a QTO link over here that basically gathers all the raw data from the Revit model. And you can see there's quite a bit of raw data from the Revit model. And what it does, it reads this data and then we summarize it in this nice pivot table. And we give you this Excel template with BIMLink. So a real quick example that I can show you here, because there's not a whole lot of work to do here, is I'm going to just go ahead and export this QTO. And if you want to look at it, I'll just go to the properties here real quickly. But when I go to the properties here, we are using our true multi-category right here, which is far larger and better than the Revit multi-category. All right, and so we're bringing this up. You can see there's 4,311 elements all in here, and we're pulling out some of this information. And you can go ahead and add your own info if you want and formulate the pivot table how you want. But I'm going to cancel that, and I'm going to export this QTO right into the QTO file that we have shipped with BIMLink. And we're going to overwrite the tab that's inside of that file with the latest and greatest quantities from this Revit model. All right, so it takes a moment because there's a lot of elements to export. So we have 4,311 here. So bear with it for just a moment. All right, we're almost there. Now I'm going to open the file. And just like that, now again, these are in imperial units, but the nice thing about the what I showed you earlier and what's now, you can see that it changed. But we're listing out all the categories, you know, casework, ceilings, curtain panels. We're listing everything out and their counts and the sum of their length and areas just in a nice, beautiful summary. So this information right here came out of that model as updated info and already summarized in this pivot table. Just another small example of what BIMLink is capable of doing. So again, we can handle revision information, sheet information. If you're interested in editing any of your sheet data, like your sheet names and sheet numbers, anything in white is editable. And whether it appears in the sheet list, dump all this data out, edit the data, bring it back in, and all your sheets will update. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close BIMLink, and I'm going to move over now to IdeateApps. So as I mentioned before, IdeateApps is a collection of 9 day-to-day use tools that every Revit user will find value in. So if you're renumbering things manually, why not take a look at Renumber to help you with those tasks? And so that's the first tool that I'm going to start with. I'm going to expand Ideate Renumber because I have a category here, and I already have a floor plan kind of ready to go for Renumber. Okay, you could see over here that I have some room numbers that are a little out of date, shall we say. And also what I have here is I have some detail lines, and I'll go ahead and make them thicker just so you can see them a little better. You could pre-draw these lines, or you can draw them within Renumber. But what we're essentially creating is a path for you to renumber your rooms, okay? And if a room is not enclosed, then that number won't renumber if the path doesn't hit it. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I'm gonna go ahead and launch the Renumber utility. All right, when I launch Renumber, Renumber is going to bring up rules that are associated with the view that you're in. So it's not going to show you every rule for a Revit project if you cannot execute that rule within this view. So we're showing you doors, rooms, and curtain panels as examples. If you click on this button over here, you could look at other rules that are saved in the project. You can create new rules, you can duplicate a rule, you can edit a rule, and you can import and export rules as well. Okay, so that's beautiful. You can completely customize these to your needs. Okay, let me just show you a real a quick example of a room renumber. Let me start this at 2000 just to make it easy. And the easy thing you could do if you have a few rooms that you want to do is I can just do select elements and pick one room at a time, just like that. And if I pick something else, we'll say incorrect element type, expecting rooms. So that's pretty neat. And then I can come back to the renumber utility and kind of pick up where I leave off. If you didn't draw a path in here, you can certainly create a new path and draw the path in renumber and then renumber it based on that path. But since I already have a path, I want to ask Renumber to help me renumber these rooms based on one of these rules. And the differences between these two are if a line crosses over from room to room to room, it will renumber in the order of that line. But if you want to use the vertex method and skip over rooms or renumber in a real particular order, even though this line goes through another room, you would use the vertex method, which happens to be one of my favorite methods. And watch how easy this is. I'm going to start at room 2000. And you can see I already have a couple that are the same, but you can see over here these are not. I'm going to select the vertex and hit start numbering. And all I need to do is pick the first line in the sequence and watch what happens here. It's going to bring up this dialog box and give you a summary. Okay, and you can also choose to ignore rooms. For example, if you wanted to ignore renumbering that, you can, but if not, you just simply do that. And when I hit accept changes and close out, take a look at this. Not too bad, right? Not too bad. Okay, so just like that, I was able to renumber all of these rooms by using a path. And if you use working views, like I like to personally use, you can make this, this path in a working view so that your sheet views don't show this path. Now, let me just show you another really quick example. I won't get into the weeds with this one. I just want you to be very well aware of how the software works, but you can also look at your doors. And I'm just gonna real quickly show you what the rule looks like for this door. I'm gonna go to edit, and we're using the room number with an increment. And what's great is you can add a constant parameter in here, an increment parameter, and even a field. So the constant would be like a dash, and the field would be what information you want to pull out of the Revit model in order to renumber. So for example, this field here is using the room number, and this increment is an increment A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, and you can use that. And if you don't want the dash A, no problem, get rid of it. And we even give you the option to leave single doors blank, or the singles blank, meaning if you have one door that goes into a room, it won't get the letter A, it'll just get the room number. So we give you these opportunities to do that. I'll save it and close it. Oh, and real quickly, we're targeting the mark parameter, meaning the renumber is going to push the data in the mark value. You can see here we can push this into other instance-based parameters within the Revit model. That's amazing. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit OK. And then I'm gonna use auto number by view and hit start numbering. And depending on how you set up your doors, whether you do room calculation point or not, there are a variety of ways that you can actually get a renumber to read room data and push it into your doors. I won't get into all of that, but you could see the old door numbers and what they're going to become over here. And again, you can flip the numbering schema if you want. Okay, it even tells you if your door is using the room location point or not. But I'm going to go ahead here and just hit accept changes. And when I'm done, take a look at this. 2000A to 2000, 2000C. Take a look at that. Even the door swings outward, it's reading the room number. 2002B, 2002A. If you had to do this manually, it's going to take you forever. See, this door swings into this space and gets this number. there's no way you could do that manually that quickly in Revit with all of those wonderful options. I would even argue that it would be more of a challenge probably in Dynamo than it would be in Renumber. We have this all taken care of for you really quickly and really efficiently. And again, you can make a lot of rules if you want. So that's an example of there. And real quickly, you can also do the same thing for light fixtures. As I mentioned before, you can do light fixtures by path. So if I look over here, we have a room that's from an architectural link, and we have a space which is actually in here. And I can use the room information from the link to renumber my spaces. And I'll just show you that real quickly in this MEP model, and then I'll move on. But I could say I want to renumber spaces from a room. Or you can actually even get space name. But if I come to space and look at our rule over here, we can get the increment number over here. Let me actually change my mind on that one. There we go, space number from room. That's a different rule right there. So we're gathering these the room information and pushing that into there. And if I go auto number by view and hit accept changes, take a look at this, 108, 108. See that right there? So again, we can get all that space data to match just like that. So these two are now matching. So again, you can use the room link information and push that into your space data if you're on the like MEP side of things, which is pretty great. All right, I'm going to come back to this example file. The next product I want to show you here real quickly is QuickSelect. What's nice about QuickSelect is we can get a listing of all the elements in our Revit model based on the active view or the entire project. And what's nice about that is you can also see other things in this list that you would normally never see in a Revit model, like all your CAD imports. And I can come in here and expand these, and I can take a look at all the CAD imports that are in my model. I could select it, and you can see it says once selected here, and it repeats that info here, and you can even double click on it, and it's gonna go and find a view, and there it is. That's the makeup air unit DWG that's imported in my model. And if I don't want those there, I can select all of them from here if I wanted to and simply delete them. And they're gonna be out of my project. So a wonderful way to select elements. Again, you can select like these doors if you want to, right? You can select these doors and double click on them. And you can say, you know what, maybe I wanna swap these doors out with another type of door. And just like that, I selected those doors and was able to swap them out. Again, a really simple, easy to use tool. I say it's the baby brother of Ideate Explorer, okay? All right, real quickly, I'm gonna show you one SmartDelete, and then I'll kind of move on. So here I am in a detail view, and maybe I'm interested for some crazy reason to delete this floor. I would never want to just do that. I know there's consequences, but I can look right here and I can say, oh, when I delete this floor, I'm actually going to delete these 3 dimensions. But are you? Maybe there's more. I'm going to select this floor. I'm going to go to Ideate Software, and I'm going to use SmartDelete. And what it's going to do, it's going to query that floor, tell you what it is, and it's actually telling you right here is if you delete this floor, you're going to lose 64 dimensions. That's a lot. 5 face regions and 4 keynote tags as well. So I'm not just deleting 4 dimensions, I'm actually deleting all of this. You can imagine if you try to select a level and hit SmartDelete, what SmartDelete's going to report to you. And even if you want to, delete something like this as an example, you may want to know what would be a result if I use SmartDelete. Well, if I delete that one piece of casework, I'm going to lose 12 dimensions and 3 other elements in here. Wow, I did not know that. I thought I was just going to lose it in this one view. So when in doubt, if you're ready to delete it, select it and use SmartDelete, and SmartDelete will tell you what's going to be deleted. Okay, so we list all dependencies. Everything is hosted, everything is dimensioned. You got it. We'll take care of it. Okay, the next product I'm going to show you, and then I'll show you some of the sheet tools, is XRay. This is a really fun tool to use because it really can help you find things that that you may otherwise have trouble finding. I'm going to go right here, for example, and of course I gave myself some tips here so I knew exactly what I was looking for, since I'm not as intimate with this model. But I'm sitting here and I'm saying, where are my plumbing fixtures? Like, where's my toilet? And of course, I would always first reveal hidden elements. And you could see right here under reveal hidden elements, I do not see anything appear. I may be inclined afterwards to go to visibility graphics and look at the plumbing fixtures category. And yep, plumbing fixtures are turned on. But I know that toilet exists. I've seen it in other views, but it doesn't show up here. Well, I'm going to ask XRay to help me with that. So I'm going to go to XRay. And when you launch XRay, you have or actually I should say 4 choices on how you want to find something. Are you looking for a 3D model element? Are you looking for an annotation element like a text note or a dimension string or a keynote tag? Are you looking for a grid level or view reference? Or did you select some stuff with Ideate QuickSelect and now you want to know why you can't see that element in this particular view? So for this example here, I'm looking for a 3D model element. So I'm going to go next. And then I'm going to do a crossing window. And the goal is to not do a huge window, but you do a window roughly in the area where you think that toilet should be. And just like that, take a look at this. XRay actually lists a lot of things that it found within that window that I actually selected, whether you can see it or not. And right here, I see a couple of toilets. I'm going to say, hey, why can we not find this toilet? Let's take a look and see what it says. I'm going to go to next and then say find element. And it says the element selected is in a work set called plumbing fixtures, which is turned off under visibility graphics. Wow, okay, show me. I'm going to go to show me, and it launches visibility graphics. And when I go to work sets and I see plumbing fixtures, there's the problem. It was right, it's hidden. I'm going to say show it to me. And when I hit OK and done, there it is. There's my toilet. That's pretty neat. How about a low wall? Why can't I see it in here? Again, I see my wall categories are turned on. I come over to light bulb, nothing. Maybe XRay can help me with that. I'll go to XRay. I'll search a small area. I'll select by crossing. I'll organize it maybe by category. I do see a wall right here. Let's see if that's the one. I'll hit next and I'll say find element. And right here it says the element is outside the view range. Select more info to learn more about managing view ranges. So if you're new to view ranges and don't quite understand that, I can go to more info and it gives me this education about view ranges. So we tell you all about the primary range and the view depth. The fix button is not available because you have to make a decision on what the view range is. We don't just fix it because it may break other things in your view. So knowing what I know, I'll go to the view range. And sure enough, I need to set my bottom of my view range to 0. And when I hit OK, there you have it. All right, so XRay can help you determine why things are not visible. Even things like view templates, things that are turned off via a view template, like why doesn't the furniture display here? We can help you with all of that. So for example, if I used XRay, and let's do a crossing window, here's some furniture right here. Tell me why I can't see it. And take a look at this, a double whammy. It's part of the furniture category, which is actually turned off in visibility graphics. But before I do anything, I should know that the view template Ideate plan is controlling the visibility graphics. Look at that. It's telling me that yes, the problem's under visibility graphics, but the view template is the problem. So if there's more than one reason why things are turned off, we'll list every reason why. So when you get a chance, give it a shot. But with that, I'm going to move on to some of the other Ideate apps. Okay, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to probably, I'll switch, I'm going to open up maybe another file here real quickly. So give me 1 second here. This one's a little just streamlined over here. So I'm just going to open up a really simple floor plan over here. Okay, so here we go. I have some sheets. And you could see on this sheet I have a floor plan, and I'm going to go ahead and maybe move the floor plan over here. Okay, and I do have a basement plan that isn't necessarily put on a sheet, and I want to kind of match the orientation of this view and its location on a brand new sheet. So let me just show you what you can do. I'm going to come over to this nifty program here called SheetManager. And what I like about this is we're listing all the views that are not on sheets, and then we are listing all of your sheets over here. And what's great is I could create a new sheet right from here. All right, so I'll just create a new sheet. I believe this one, let me just double check my title block size here. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new sheet right here. And there it is, just like that. And I can right mouse click and I can rename the sheet if I want to, just like you would normally in Revit. And then what I could do is I can come over to my floor plans and I could drag my views onto the sheet right through here. Hey, that's pretty neat. And look at this, it kind of shows up above here because then from there you can either manually organize the views if you want, or you can actually use the align tool to start aligning the views. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Okay. The other thing too, you could put like legends on here. If you have a legend that you want to put, like door elevations, sure, you can put the legends on there if you want to. All right. Now let me come back up to the floor plan view, and let me put the same legends over here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over to maybe here. All right, so look at that. I can work both in this dialog box if I want to. Also, what's kind of wild, if you ever wanted to move a view from one sheet to another, you know you can't drag it over here in Revit. But take a look at this. I can come in over here and I can move this legend onto another sheet. I moved it off of the sheet onto here, and I can move it back onto here if I want to. So that's pretty neat. All right, so now I'll kind of organize this view. All right, so I'll keep this really simple just because of time, right? But again, these are just some thought generators. Now, I could either close this dialog box if I want to and use a line right here, or I can just simply go to a line from here. And take a look at this. My alignment view, I'm going to use this sheet right here and this partition plan, and it found a similar view on this sheet, which is this one right here, and I'm going to hit the align button. And then take a look at this. I'm going to go to door elevations, and it found it actually on two sheets here. I'll use this one, but I'm going to take this door elevation and align it on 8.2. Now I can come over here and double click if I want to and go to sheet A8.2 and take a look at this. Let me close this down. I'll close hidden windows and open this sheet. And now if I just come over here to Windows Tile, of course, let me just minimize this one here. Sorry about that, folks. I forgot I had more than one drawing file open, but you get the idea. So this one here is where I want it to be, and so is this one. And now if I decide to come back, let's say I come in over here and I want to move this view over here, and I want to take this one and move it over here, I can come back to align now and say, okay, take the partition plan and align that, and then take the door elevations and align it. And when I go back to that sheet now, they're in their new positions. So the floor plans find the actual XY coordinate of the plan. It's not the actual view itself, but it actually aligns them in the same spot. So that also means if I crop this view down like this, okay, if I crop this view like that and move it over here, and I go back to the align software, and I use my partition plan and go over here and do that, when I go back to there, it will move it back in the correct position. So that's pretty neat. So you can do this in bulk, as I mentioned before, but give that a shot. So again, the SheetManager tool, as I mentioned before, allows you to drag and drop, and you can also do multiple views. You can drag them and drop them onto one sheet if you want to. For example, I can drag these over to here, and then when I go to that sheet, this may take a little bit for dragging all those views, but basically what it's going to do is going to put all those views onto that sheet all at once, and then I can go to that sheet and use, if I come over to that sheet, you could see it right over here. There they are. That's the reason why it took a while, right? But then if I wanted to align them or move them manually, you can certainly do that if you want to. So that's pretty neat. All right, let me real quickly show you the clone tool. If you've ever tried to right mouse click and duplicate view, you can't. If I use clone, however, I could say, you know, I want to clone what I first want to do is go to the sheet itself. I want to actually clone a 8.2, make an 8.3, and in place of the basement plan, I'm going to put the ceiling plan for the first floor. And then in place of the legend, I want to, the door legend, I maybe don't want a view in its place. And take a look at this. When I hit clone, it created a sheet A 8.3, and I can repeat the process. I can come back to clone and put the second floor plan and hit clone. And what's nice is we keep the dialog open. I could just keep doing this if I want to. And the same thing, it puts it in the same exact position. That's pretty great. Okay, so again, clone allows you to duplicate sheets. You can change a name if you want. And I'm going to show you one last quick example here, and that happens to be the view creator. This is a really powerful piece of software. Okay, what I'm interested in doing, I have a phase 1 new work, and I want to take some of these views as they are right now, maybe some of these X-ray views, because these X-ray views right now are in phase 1, and I want to copy them over to phase 2. I'm going to launch View Creator and take a look at how cool this is. I'm going to duplicate these views, okay? And what I want to do is I want to duplicate them by phase. So new views can be prefixed or suffixed with text and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate to phase. And these are rules that we have built in. And again, like rename or renumber, you can make your own rules. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to duplicate the following views. So I'll just say, okay, you know what? I'm going to select nothing here. And maybe what I want to do is grab these 13 views right here, these floor plans. And I go to next. Okay, and take a look at this. I can also give the names, the views a custom name. So I can say these are going to be phase 1. All right, let me make that look better. Okay, and you see that right there? And then while I'm at it, go ahead and move those over to phase 2 South Edition and go ahead and set the phase filter to show previous plus new. Now I do have a conflict over here, so I can just remove that one for now. And I'm going to go ahead and create these 12 views and hit done. And what happens is, take a look over here. I have a whole new category for phase 2. And I should have actually called them phase 2. My bad. I forgot to. I improperly named them, but you get the idea. But when I go to that view, that's the reason why I had that conflicting name. But you see over here it says phase 2 South Edition for the phase and phase filter. So my naming was wrong. But again, it put it under the correct category. So View Creator can do a lot of things. Of course, we're out of time, and I want to see if I can address some questions. So let me just see if there are any questions here. And I don't actually see any questions. So does anybody have any questions? Feel free to type in the chat panel. I'm going to be on the lookout for these questions. Again, I know we only had an hour, but I wanted to see, I wanted to give you guys kind of an introduction to both BIM Link and also IdeateApps and the capabilities that this software has. So I'm on the lookout here for some questions. So hit me up with these questions if you have any. So far, I don't see any questions coming through. So I'm going to stay on the line here for a couple of minutes to see if anybody has any questions. And as always, feel free to reach out to your reseller, A2K. They're a great partner of ours, and they are absolutely more than happy to work with you guys on any sort of Ideate software questions that you may have. And also, if you are interested in any of their in-person workshops, feel free to reach out to them. They're definitely more than happy to help out. But I don't see any questions so far in the chat panel. So I'll hang out here for another minute. Oh, here we go. All right, I got a question that came through. Let me just make this panel a little bigger so I can actually read it. Okay, for some reason, I'm going to pull this panel away. Apologies, it's a little hard. There we go. Are you able to turn off splines that are for renumbering on exporting PDFs and DWGs? So, you know what you could do? Yes, one of the things that you could do is you can absolutely put those lines under its own line style, and then in visibility graphics turn them off if you want to before exporting. As I mentioned before, one of the things that I like to do is I like to make working views versus sheet views. The working views would show things like your Ideate path. It would show things like your room separation lines, those kinds of things, but those views actually don't go on sheets. So if you are exporting out to DWG and to PDF, then what you could do is use the final view or the sheet view instead of the working view. But if you want, you can give your path its own line style, its own name, and then you can turn it off in visibility graphics before you export that information out. It's a great question. So I'm still waiting for some more questions. I'll hang out here for a few more minutes. I believe it's about 1 o'clock over there, and it's 8 o'clock p.m. the day before over here on the West Coast. So 17-hour time difference. All right, I don't see any other questions. As I mentioned before, I'll hang out for a couple, 2 more minutes just to see if you do have any questions, and if not, we'll go ahead and end this webinar. I hope you guys found some good tips and tricks. A lot to cover in 1 hour, but it gives you a good idea of just a small sampling of what the software is capable of doing. All right, folks, I don't see any more questions coming through here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is end the webinar. Again, I do appreciate everybody's participation today. And again, if you do have any further questions, feel free to reach out to A2K. And they're more than happy to help you out. You can also check out our website at IdeateSoftware.com. You'll find a wealth of information, including our help files, our how-to videos. As I mentioned before, we have a lot of great videos and resources to help you get started, and also a lot of tips and tricks and also workflow related blog posts. So be sure to check that out, and also check out the A2K website as well. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting, and we'll see you next time. Appreciate your time.